Hey YouTube, it's JP Dillon. This is going to be part 2 of the Sanusi 5500. We're going to take it out of the case again, and we're going to focus on prepping the case for restoration. It's very waterlogged. I've already taken the screws out. And we're just going to slide the machine out here. And let me get the cords loose and everything. And then we'll take a look at what's needed for the case. You'll get a chance to see the rust bucket that this thing is. Let me just get this down. You can see how wet this thing really got. It's pretty awful. It's got heavy rust everywhere. Again, this thing was underwater, so I'm surprised that it's not worse. And then if we flip up and look at the bottom isn't rusted too bad, but the case really got waterlogged, and you can see how badly warped it is, and you can see how much it's sopped up on the bottom here, how things are just kind of disgusting. It's flaking, it's coming apart. So I want to address ways that you can take care of this, because we're going to try to resurrect this case. You can see here it's all badly flaking off, and this is all swollen, and this is coming apart. Now, I don't want to take the time to completely redo this case or find another case, but we're going to make it look nice, and we're going to seal it up so that it doesn't fall apart anymore. And the way that we're really going to do this is with the use of copious amounts of wood glue. And we're just going to paint it on, let the wood glue sink in and let it saturate. And that way it will kind of hold the case together. You've also got these side vent things, which I'm going to have to get out somehow. They're glued in there fairly tightly, so when I go to touch up the veneer, that might be a problem trying to mask all that off, because the plastic's so brittle, I'm afraid that it's going to break apart if I take it apart there. So what we'll do is, I want to mask off the veneer that's on the front here, so I don't get glue on that, and use a tape that's not going to stick to the wood glue. I need to affix this piece of veneer here and all this sort of thing. Probably use painter's tape. So let me mask all this off, and then we'll get to applying the wood glue so we can seal it up and keep it from flaking anymore. Alright, so we got everything masked off and prepped. We've got our jar of wood glue and a brush. And we're just going to start slathering it on. This may seem silly, but it will seal the flaky particle board and keep it from getting worse. Just apply it liberally, all on the surface. Remember to get all your nooks and crannies. And it's going to dry mostly clear, so don't worry about that too much. You'll get a little bit of a yellow haze. Now, this isn't a miracle cure, but it keeps it from getting worse. It's just a sealant, really, to keep additional moisture from breaking it down and from it coming apart anymore. So just do this. Go around all the edges and everything. And that's why we masked things, is so that it's not going to get all on the veneer and stuff. This is really kind of the boring part of it, but gotta do it. So we've got the bottom. Let's do the outsides. Don't oversaturate it so that it drips everywhere. Just use enough to coat it. You may want to use a heavier application on the areas that require more attention, like this back corner back here. Again, this may look silly, but it's going to help you out. So this is kind of the boring part. You may want to fast forward through this. But you get the idea. When this dries, I'll do the bottom inside as well to strengthen that. And then we'll work on filling the gaps and stuff that are in the veneer and the chips and the dings. But we gotta let this dry first before we use any additional fillers. So you get the idea there. That slows the deterioration of the particle board. Now what you may wish to do is take loose all of the tape before it dries, because it may be a pain in the ass to get out once it's dried. So I'm going to do that, and then when the bottom dries, I'll do the inside, and then we'll work on filling other stuff in. Alright, so I decided to do the inside too. I could coat all of this. So when all of that's dry and sealed, the next thing we'll work on is stripping off the old finish, and then we're going to very carefully trim away and fill in these breaks here in the veneer and try to stain match them and make them look nice. So the finished product will be ready for new stain and new clear coat I'll use a semi-gloss to try to keep it stock looking. But as you can see, it's all coated up on the inside. When it dries, I'll trim away the excess, and all that's coated up. So then the next thing we'll focus on after all this is dry is getting everything cleaned up and stripped and restained. Okay, so the glue is done drying, and that's sealed up the particle board. It's nice and smooth. It's not flaky. It's sealed up. It's not perfect, but it's going to keep it alive. This didn't quite dry the way I wanted it to, but I think I can remedy that easily enough with a little bit of steam. And next thing we're going to do, you can see I've already popped out the vents here on the sides. Now what we're going to do is we're going to strip it. And I'm just going to use a basic stripper called Citrus Strip. Works pretty well for these. Takes all the wax and stuff off so you can sand it down. And then once we've got it sanded, we'll use some filler, and we'll go in here and we'll build this up and flatten it out. And then when we're ready, we'll stain everything so that it looks nice. The next couple videos may be noisy, as we've got a new roof being put on the building this week, so I'll try to manage with what I can. But I'm going to put the Citrus Strip on there, and then we're going to let it set up. And then when it's ready to peel off, I'll do another video on removing it. So there's another update for you. So it's starting to dry. I'm going to wait a little longer before I do everything, but just to show you, if you scrape a little bit, see how it peels up? It literally takes all the finish with it. Pretty cool. So after this is all dry, I'll scrape it, and then we'll sand it and fill all those cracks in. Alright, here it is. I scraped off all of the finisher remover, the Citrus Strip, and I've sanded it with 80, 180, 300, and 600, and she's ready for stain now. Unfortunately, one of the veneer pieces came up and kind of shattered apart here, so I'm going to fill this and try to stain match everything. I have to fill this chip here and this chip here. So right now I'm just going to get all the excess sawdust and junk out of here, fill this and this, and then we'll stain it. You can see I got rid of most of the water stain. It went down pretty deep, and I didn't want to risk buffing out the veneer itself. So we'll have to play around with the stain and see if we can get a uniform color. But so far it's looking pretty good. Just need to get the rest of it prepped, and then we can go from there. Here it is with the wood filler, and I'm trying to color match here. I filled in the gaps here, straightened it out as best possible. So from far away it doesn't look too bad, and then hopefully once it dries we'll sand it again and get the stain in, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, so here's the case after I cleaned up the rest of the debris and sawdust, and this is the coating of stain. For you, those of you who are curious, this is Minwax Red Mahogany 225. Now it looks really spotty right now because, well, there's still a lot of the stain that hasn't dried yet. I hand rubbed about 3 or 4 coats in to kind of get everything matched up. I did a little bit of the front lip too, and I also did the bottom feet. And when it dries, I'll wait about, well, technically I can wait over the weekend. I won't be here over the weekend, so that will give it time to cure. And then when it's done, I'll put a semi-gloss polyurethane on it and give it a nice appearance. As you can see, the areas that I worked over with the wood putty are a little visible. We've got one here, and you've got one here. I might clean those up a little bit with some super fine sandpaper before I lay down the final coat, but it's better than the chunks of it being missing. But yeah, lots of hard work. It's starting to look better. We'll see what the finished product looks like after I have a clear coat on it and give it a chance to cure. I'll probably put 2 or 3 layers of clear coat on it just to be sure. So probably the next video you'll see will be of the finished product, and then we'll work on tearing down the chassis and troubleshooting the portions of the machine that were affected, like the amplifier, tone controls, replacing capacitors, fixing the FM, and then we'll work on getting the corrosion off the faceplate and the knobs. So that'll be the next installment. So thanks for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and the next time you see this case, it should look nice and pretty.